Welcome to Off the Clock. And I'm excited to have Katie Hanna here with us today. And Katie, why don't you start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Katie Hanna, and I own a bookkeeping firm called Details Matter Bookkeeping and Advisory. And we help small businesses with their bookkeeping, payroll, basically anything leading up to tax. And I'm a certified bookkeeper. I'm a QuickBooks Pro advisor. I've been doing this for 15 years, but I've owned the business. I started in 2016, so had the business totally up and running for 9 years.
That is amazing. I'm just curious. The name of your business is called Details Matter Bookkeeping and Advisory. What was the motivation to come up with that name?
Well, I take absolutely no credit, actually. So I took over my mom's business, actually. So she was the original. She came up with that, and but it is the most perfect name for a bookkeeping firm, really, right? Like we're all about the details. It's all about organizing and helping people understand things, and those little details matter. So I didn't come up with it, but it is I'm not changing it. I've added on, but I am not changing it.
No, I love it. You can take a little bit of credit since it came from your mom.
Yeah, she's a genius.
Before we get more into your story, I thought we'd start with a little something fun. I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions, and you can just say the first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Right, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Beach trip or mountain trip?
Mountains.
Sweet snack or salty snack?
Salty.
Cats or dogs?
That's tough. I would swing more dog, but you will probably see our new kitten walking around in the backgrounds. I have two of each now. We just got the second one.
That's a really hard question for me too, because I always grew up with dogs, and now I have two cats at home, and I would say now I'm probably more of a cat person, but it's hard.
I know, I know. I love all animals is the answer, but I think I'm more of a dog person. They're just not in here because we just got this new kitten, and so she's kind of blocked off in the office with me to kind of give her a little space before she has to go out into the full menagerie.
And the last question is dream place you haven't traveled to yet?
Japan.
Ooh, Japan is also on my bucket list. I would just want to go for the sushi.
I mean, yeah, to me it's everything, but it's that plane ride from here in the US all the way to I'm like, I don't know that I could do that. I don't sleep on planes. So no good.
When you were little, so you said your mom's an accountant. Did you always picture yourself becoming an accountant as
No.
well?
No.
No.
I changed careers into this. I did start out, I was a kid and this kind of goes in with the animals. I wanted to be like a veterinarian. So then and that kind of transferred into eventually wanting to be a zookeeper. And so my actual degree, I went to Towson University in Baltimore, and my degree's in animal behavior. So I had that I was trying that, but I was also that kid that fell out of trees all the time and like just off roller skates and like broke everything. So I'm kind of a broken adult. So like I actually threw my back out in college, and I was like, yeah, I don't know that like hauling bales of hay and like, being a zookeeper seems like a very physical job. And I was like, I don't know that that's going to work out for me. It was great dreams, but so I worked at an animal shelter in Baltimore for a couple years, and then my husband is in biotech, and so his first job was back here in my hometown, and so it was like moving back home, needed to like leave that job anyway, so it was just like it was time for just a total change. Thought, hey, I'll take over my mom's business, be your own boss, right?
So you said you typically work with small businesses. Is that the only clientele you typically work with, or do you work with other clientele as well?
I do some nonprofits, some smaller nonprofits. I have done big nonprofits before. I'm not, I know other bookkeepers that can handle those. So I'm not really trying to take on any giant ones anymore. They need a lot of work. It's a totally different animal than small business. They have a lot of grants. There's a lot of reporting requirements. There's audit requirements if they're, larger. It's a different monster.
I didn't realize nonprofit was a little different or
It
operated a little.
is very different. It's
Okay.
definitely a different for their even the names of their financial statements are different. So instead of a profit and loss, it's a statement of activity. I mean, it's basically the same thing, but it just definitely it's a different world. I know how to do it, and I didn't take them for a long time, and then I finally had so many that had reached out to me that I was like, fine, I will teach one of my staff how to do it, and we'll take them again. Because otherwise it would have been me doing everything. And I'm trying to not be I've hired people to do bookkeeping so that I can go do the business development and the sales and marketing and, go be the face of the company.
How many people are on your team?
I have 7 staff now. So
It's
my
amazing.
journey has gone from solopreneur. My mom was by herself. She just had a small group of maybe 20 clients or so. And I decided that I was going to, again, different sides of the spectrum, right? She's like retired now. She basically gave it to me and retired. And so I'm on the other side. So I fully took over and well was working with her in 2016. I had my daughter in 2017. So obviously young family, right? Different sides of the spectrum. So I was like, hey, I'm going to build it up. Obviously need to make more income. We've got a mortgage, we've got kids, we've got all the things, but also just, I had a lot of working, I'm like, I'm not close to retirement, right? Like, might as well see what I can do with it. For me it's fun, it's enjoyable. I love building the business. I love helping people. I'm a helper by nature, so I love meeting new people and getting so it's not just oh cool, I got more income. It's like, oh cool, I have a new client, they have a new business that's sort of part of the circle that I get to learn about. It's just really, I don't know, I live a little vicariously through all of the other businesses.
You got to work with your mom back in 2016, and she kinda got to show you the ropes of running the company. What was that
Yeah.
experience like working with your mom?
So and I will say at that point, so I got my license, which unfortunately there's no regulations in the bookkeeping industry. So when I say license, I have one, it's not required. I've done that because I needed to have some sort of education because I was switching careers into it. I didn't have an accounting degree. And B, it's a little, it's a higher level of education. I get the little CB letters after my name. So I did that, and I worked at a CPA for a number of years. So like 2011 to end of 2015, right? Because she was kind of like, you need to go get some experience, like learn things. Like, I'm not going to teach you everything. I don't know that she necessarily has the patience for that, but she did. She was great as like a mentor, right? Like, these are here's the kind of nuances, right? Like, here's how I do things. But yeah, so at that point, we were working together a little bit. Like, she would kind of let me know what's going on with individual clients, but mostly I was doing it myself. She had a couple clients that she held on to, but mostly I was doing it myself. And then when I had my daughter, it was February, which is our busiest time. January and February are the busiest time for bookkeepers because we have to get everything ready for the tax people who need it by March and April. So fortunately, I had her because at the time I was still going out to clients, and I do everything virtually now, but at the time I was like going out, so she could go out and pick up work for me and bring it back, and then she held the baby while I did the work. I had a little pack and play next to the desk, and I was just plugging away. So that's kind of how she retired. She decided, hey, you know what? You go, I'll do all the work and I'll be full-time grandma. That's what I want to do. And I'm like, sold, not a problem.
I love that. She couldn't
Can
wait to
do.
be a grandma, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm not a great like little baby person. Like, I like kids, like I love my daughter, but like little baby where you're kind of stuck at home. I was not. I'm way too like ADHD for that. Like, I was getting cabin fever. So
You're
I
like
was like, yeah, I'm ready to go back out and go to clients.
yeah, I don't blame you. That would be difficult. I have a friend going through that kinda right now.
Yeah, if you're used to like going out places almost every day, or because I would like make my rounds at least once a week, but even then I was probably out a couple times. So yeah, I was like, this is like I'm like, like my knees tapping, like I'm ready to move. I'm ready to get out of here.
Yeah. What I'm curious, what was the hardest part that maybe you didn't see coming when you took over your mom's bookkeeping business?
I mean, I think that anybody that looks to start their own business or, even doing something like that, like taking over, just like you think, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to make my own hours. I'm going to be so flexible. And while all of those things are true, it's not like sunshine and rainbows, right? It's like you're in charge of everything, right? That's great. You get to make the decisions, but also you're in charge of everything, right? Like everything is your problem. You have to make all the decisions, even little ones, right? You don't have somebody to like go, you can't pass it up the chain like this is above my pay grade, right? You're just like, no, I got to deal with that. So it's kind of, you don't, I think, realize all of the other things that go with it. You think, oh, cool, I'm going to do bookkeeping. And I say this to my clients all the time, right? Because they came in and they're like, cool, I'm going to be a plumber. And then now they realize that they have to do bookkeeping and social media and like finding clients, right? And there's all this extra stuff that you didn't think about because you're like, I'm going to do my service or I'm going to make widgets or whatever it is. And there's a lot of hats that you have to wear that kind of come with the job that maybe you weren't thinking about.
Did you so you said you have 7 employees. Did you do all the hiring or were they working for your mom?
No, she had no employees, and in fact, she thinks I'm crazy. She was never gonna have employees. She was like, I would never want to like deal with, having employees, all of that. She thinks that would be like way too much work, like a lot of nonsense. And I'm like, no, this is great. I've built it. I've built it up a lot. So, and again, I don't know, maybe I'm just a people person too. I like interacting with people, hence why I'm here, right? Like, you probably don't have a ton of accountants because there's a lot of introverted accountants, and I'm like the one weird extroverted bookkeeper. So, you know,
What kind of culture have you tried to cultivate? Are you fully remote?
yeah, we're all remote. All of my staff are like US based people. Like, I'm not outsourcing overseas. And it's really interesting to see how it's built kind of itself. Like, I know that I have part of building the culture, but I feel like it's kind of built itself. And I was not, I didn't necessarily steer it one way or another. But it's very interesting because we're all like actually really close. We do spend a lot of time together, whether it's one-on-one, on like a Zoom call. We use Google Meet, but or we also have like a weekly staff meeting, so we all get on at the same time. They also sometimes will do like these little co-working sessions, so like they'll all just kind of hop on for an hour or two and sort of chat while working like you would in a normal office. And I said they because if I did that, I would chat and not work. You know, I don't have that capability, but they enjoy doing it. So, yeah, it's like we know what's going on with other people's lives. It's interesting to hear what's going on in different states because I have some that are in the Midwest even. So, it was also interesting because the kids just went back to school. So, like, mine went back really early. Some of them didn't go back till after Labor Day. And, so then they're like, oh, I'm so jealous. They're like, I'm ready for my kids to go back to school. So, yeah, it's really interesting. And I think, I'm here for it, right? Like there's been this such a push to like get people back in offices and I feel like why are you going into an office to then log into the internet, right? And use cloud-based systems to sit there, And again, I'm biased because if when I worked in the office, I'm pretty sure I only got about 30% work done and the other 70 was chit chat. So I can't do it. But I get all that out because I do so much, like I do a lot of networking. I teach, so I do like webinars for different, like we have like the Maryland Women's Business Center. I do a bunch of webinars for them, different stuff like that. And I'm always out, meeting either clients, potential clients, my other like kind of business networking friends. So I'm out all the time, even though I do the majority of my work from home. That's kind of how I balance my need to go be with people and also to get work done.
Do you go to any accounting conferences?
I don't. I really would like to. the big QuickBooks conference is super expensive. So I just have not quite gotten there. I think if I had like a buddy that I could share like hotel rooms and stuff, I would probably go. Like I would like to go sometime, but I just haven't had a chance to.
And I wanna ask you, how did you hear about Anchor?
So I use Right Tool, which is like a browser extension that you can add on to QuickBooks. It's for accountants that kind of helps us do our work easier in QuickBooks Online. And so you guys had like a little ad on the bottom there. And so your advertising works because I was like, I'll check it out. I was using QuickBooks to like invoice and receive payments, but they were raising their prices, and I've struggled multiple times to find the right system because now I do packages. Everything that I do is a fixed monthly price, and then I have three packages that, well, now it's more because I've got some other stuff going on, but there's things for people to choose. I also have optional things, so I don't force people to like send me their receipts. But some people like for me to handle those and make sure that they get connected in QuickBooks so that way you can keep like that digital record. So it's like that's an optional service, right? And so being able to, and sometimes people are in between. They're like, I don't know if I just want bookkeeping or if I want bookkeeping and advisory, right? So with Anchor, I can send them a proposal and have the two packages or three packages, whatever it is, and then they select one, and then they can select those optional services. And then also keep that on a recurring payment because I found some that you could do the packages, but it was just a one-time charge. So I tried some other things. At the time when I was switching, I was paying for a like proposal service, a proposal software, which was like an annual $1,000 just to have that, and then still having to manually enter in QuickBooks and create the recurring, receipts in there to run. So it didn't have a connected payment So anyway, it saved already off the bat $1,000 and then also saves on the fees, and it has the capability I need. It was just, the Goldilocks.
I'm glad you're happy with the platform, and I think too, have you seen your revenue increase when you send out proposals with different packages and people get to choose maybe optional services that you offer, or maybe a higher package that they didn't know, maybe a service that they didn't know you offered existed?
What I'll say, because I had been doing that before I started with Anchor, I just had to
Oh,
do it through all these, like, I just had multiple things. But what I will say is that when I started doing that, it has made the whole, like, proposal discovery, I usually start with a discovery call, right? And then typically I can quote people then, unless like they have a hot mess on their hands and I need to like dig around before I give them a final price. But then, like I said, sometimes they're waffling on things. And so it's made the whole process of trying to get people to sign up way faster. And I do think that that translates into more people signing, right? If it's going to take 2 weeks to like get a proposal from you and, be able to like pick all those options, they're going to just leave, right? You'll just get ghosted.
yeah.
They'll go somewhere else. So like this is taking too long. So that's what I will say about it is that I think it's just really, I can have that proposal to them and with templates and stuff, I mean like minutes later after I've had the discovery call. It's like, cool, I'm going to send that to you now. And so now it's fresh in their mind. They're like, cool, I'm going to look for that. I'll sign it, right? And I think it's professional. You're taking things serious because again, I'm in that, professional services industry. So I need to have a professional looking proposal. I have all the software. Obviously, that lends to, oh, cool, she's like good with technology. I'm not just like handwriting something or it's a word of mouth,
Yeah.
agreement. I'm a professional person that will be able to take care of them and take care of their business. So I think, you kind of need that level of, yeah, just like composure, when you're sending out things that, hey, look at all this, cool options, we've got it all worked out for you. You definitely don't want to look unprofessional as somebody that's like, in the financial industry or a lot of other business services, right? I'm dealing with people's like sensitive financial data. So yeah, they don't need something that I've just like made up, handwritten and or anything like that. That would be bad.
So, Katie, before we wrap up, I like to end each chat by passing along a little piece of advice from one guest to the next. And the last guest I spoke with was Andrea McDonald from Steadfast Bookkeeping. And her piece of advice was to dream big and don't shrink yourself to make others feel comfortable. And I would ask you, what's one piece of advice you'd leave for the next guest?
Oh man, well, that's a good one for sure. I think in our industry we have a habit, accountants, but both like CPAs and bookkeepers have a habit of kind of downplaying their services. So I do agree with that. So now I got to come up with my own. My other thing is just put yourself out there, right? Like don't be afraid because what's the worst that can happen is people either don't respond or they say no. In a lot of like my marketing and stuff, I work with CPAs really closely because I don't do taxes. And I reached out to one of the larger CPA firms, which they typically have bookkeepers on staff at a larger firm. But it turns out that they really only do larger clients. And so any small business clients, they usually refer out. So I've actually gotten referrals for them. So put yourself out there. Worst that people can say is no. Otherwise, you're not going to upset anybody by saying I'm here, right? Just
Yeah.
do it. Just
What's the
do
worst
it.
that can happen? And where can people find you, Katie?
Well, I'm all over the place. I mean, the best place where all of my services and stuff is on my website, which is just detailsmatterbookkeeping.com. But I'm also active on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram handle is not your typical bookkeeper, which I is kind of also part of my jam, obviously. Uh, and then the others are all kind of, details matter bookkeeping.
I love it. Not your typical bookkeeper.
Now I got my green hair and tattoos and sometimes that works for me too because sometimes people are like, you look like a person that I can talk to that's going to talk to me normally and not like just in accountant speak, which is true.
Yeah, you're real. You're not buttoned up. I like it.
No. Yeah, I'm trying to go the exact opposite of the old corporate, tweed wearing accountant, right? That just kind of sits in their little hole and just does, you know, works numbers. Like I'm out here trying to help people, I'm out, supporting the other businesses, in our area and stuff. So it's, just a different trying to break that mold.
Well, thank you, Katie, for your time today. And thank you so much for being on Off the Clock. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. It was fun.
It was fun. Bye.
Bye.